Hello, I'm Clark Saunders. I'm one half of the songwriting team of Castles and Saunders. I write the words and Craig Castles writes the music. Today I want to talk about then and now. In one way or another, several of the songs Craig and I have written attempt to bridge the gap between the people and events of biblical times, then, and our experience in today's world, now. In some of the songs we have written primarily with children in mind, they're invited to see themselves as picking up where the biblical stories leave off and carrying that tradition forward. In other songs, they can project themselves back in time and imagine what it might have been like, as one of our song titles puts it, if I had been there. An example of the former is the song, A Part of the Story. The first two verses of the song make brief references to a host of biblical characters who are part of the long story that some theologians call salvation history. Figures mentioned in verse 1 come from the Old Testament. People mentioned in verse 2 are from the New Testament. Then in the last verse, the singers ask that they be a part of the story and a part of the song as they carry it forward by spreading the news and living out the gospel in their own day. I'll have more to say about this song another time. And by the way, although we had children in mind when we wrote the song, at least one adult choir has sung it.
There was Abraham walking with Sarah, trusting God would show them the way. There was Miriam leading the dancers, while Moses learned what he should say. There was Ruth with her steady devotion, and the prophets who spoke against wrong. They were all a part of the story. They were all a part of the song. There was Martha believing in Jesus, and Mary who wanted to learn. There was Peter so ready to follow, Zacchaeus so ready to turn. There was Paul proclaiming the gospel, and Stephen facing the throng. They were all a part of the story. They were all a part of the song. But the story is still being written. The song is still being heard. Where people are touched by the gospel and lives are changed by the word. The story will be never ending. I will help to pass it along. Let me be a part of the story. Let me be a part of the song. Let me be a part of the story. Let me be a part of the song.
If Jesus Came is another example of this kind of song. It brings the past into the present by imagining how a child might respond if Jesus were to come to their house today. The series of rhyming couplets, which Craig has combined into 2 couplets for each verse, read a bit like a simple nursery rhyme. Each couplet begins with the word if. If Jesus did this, first line, then I would respond by doing that, second line. The theme that binds the couplets together is one of responding to Jesus by following him. For children and adults alike, a faithful response to Jesus is one of discipleship. And the song concludes with a reminder of what Jesus has already done and of the bond that this has created between him and his disciples both then and now.
If Jesus came to my house today, I would not turn him away. If Jesus asked to eat with me, I would eagerly agree. If Jesus taught me kindly ways, I would serve him all my days. If Jesus called me to follow him, I would go through thick and thin. If Jesus told me to do what's right, I would try with all my might. If Jesus promised to be my guide, I would stay close by his side. If Jesus offered to be my friend, I would love him to the end. But Jesus has done all of this and more, so I am his forevermore. Yes, Jesus has done all of this and more. I am his forevermore.
But for an example of a song that transports the singers to the past rather than bringing the past into the present, check out If I Had Been There. This song for Palm Sunday invites both children and adults to imagine what it would have been like to be in Jerusalem when Jesus came down from the Mount of Olives on a donkey, that's verse 1, entered the city, verse 2, and rode through its streets, verse 3. Some repeated lines of words find an echo in Craig's music. These, along with a repeated refrain, make this song easy to learn. Palm Sunday hymns which include children are nothing new. Do you know the one that begins, "Hosanna, loud Hosanna, the little children sang"? But I think this song differs from some others in two significant ways. First, it doesn't speak only of the children who were there 2,000 years ago. It imagines how people of today might have experienced it all if we had been there. And second, there is that fourth verse where the music slows down and the mood changes from joyful to reflective. With its theme of triumphant celebration, Palm Sunday is sometimes seen in isolation from the events that were to follow. But we know that by the Friday of that week, the crowds that gathered were no longer cheering Jesus on. They were calling for his death. This may be a heavy subject for children, but they can at least ask themselves, would I have stayed when the cheering was over? Deep in my heart, would the song echo on?
If I had been there when Jesus came down from the Mount of Olives, riding the donkey so humble and lowly, I would have joined in the welcoming there, singing city, riding a donkey so humble and lowly, I would have waved a branch high in the air, singing Hosanna, shouting Hosanna, Hosanna to God in the highest heaven. Everyone on earth, the one who is coming, he comes in the name of the Lord. If I had been there in the days after Jesus had come to the city, would I have stayed when the cheering was over? Deep in my heart would the song echo on, singing Hosanna, shouting Hosanna, Hosanna to God in the highest heaven. Everyone on earth, the one who is coming, he comes in the name of the Lord.
For other songs that aim at bridging the gap between then and now, check out In Jesus' Face, Is There Enough Love to Last, and The Voice of God.